I for sure want to talk about because with everything that's going on with Ahsoka and Star Wars in general, right? We got to talk about that because you know obviously our audience has planned a lot. We got a lot of people that are, I think, finally coming to terms with Disney Star Wars being Disney Star Wars. Even me looking at it from afar, when I chime in here and there about this general direction of entertainment, even though I'm a Star Wars normie, I was told that Dave Filoni and Favreau were going to save this fucking company. So, the last, you had this episode that dropped yesterday. Was it last night, right? Last night. And we have a lot of people that are taking exception to it. So for everybody that may not know what the fuck is going on, I need to ask breakdown of what in the fuck is happening right now with Disney Star Wars.
I really wish I could tell you. I really wish I could tell you.
That's a way to put it. That's a way to put it.
This series has been an absolute waste of time. I actually asked on the Real BBC. I said to Gary and Mauler, I said, "Can you describe the plot of Ahsoka to me?"
Yeah.
And it was like really basic, and it ended up. Hold on, that's my bank code. Let's just scrub that out. This is how I described Ahsoka's plot. Some people want to find Thrawn. And so it takes them 6 episodes, I think, to find Thrawn.
Yeah.
And then they're like, there's Thrawn. Let's find somebody else. Oh, he's here. Thrawn's going to go where we were, and we're going to stay here by the end of Ahsoka. It's literally just, they started here and here in the universe, and they ended there and there in the universe. And, Sabine, it's really the characters from Rebels. Well, some of them. Zev's not there. Zeb, whatever. The creature, the creature's not there from Rebels, but the females are.
Of course.
Hera, who's a general. We know she's a general because that's all she ever says when she opens her fucking mouth. I'm a general, so you got to do what I say and stuff. And then there's Sabine, who's the Mandalorian, who suddenly is training to become a Jedi, who has no Force powers, no connection to the Force, wasn't in any way, shape, or form able to use the Force throughout the whole of the series, and then in the final episode uses the Force out of nowhere to save herself and then save a person who could use the Force but wasn't using the Force because he had to wait for the person who couldn't use the Force to self-teach themselves the Force so that they could save themselves and then save them.
Ah, gotcha.
And now, apparently, her profile on the Star Wars website or whatever, fuck knows, you wouldn't find me there, and now has her as she's now a confirmed Jedi.
Yeah, okay.
But apparently, because Ahsoka reconnected with her in episode 2 or whatever, 1 or 2, and they spoke for 2 minutes in a ship about how Sabine can't use the Force. That's training.
That's training,
dude,
bro.
Didn't you watch the show, dude? She totally trained a dude. What are you talking about, bro? Totally trained a bro. Really? Okay. So she trained her not to be able to use the Force. Gotcha. Right. Gotcha. Yeah. And the series has just been an absolute waste of time. The episode 7, which is the penultimate episode, was all about, the whole thing was about Thrawn trying to delay Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, so that he could put ramen noodles, into his Star Destroyer, because he was going to immediately hyperdrive to a planet that's probably got plenty of resources. But don't worry about that. So he needed to delay them so he could put the ramen noodles into the Star Destroyer, and then when there was enough ramen noodles, he could say, right, now we can leave. And by the end of episode 7, he said, even though they escaped my stormtroopers, even though they escaped my assassins, we have bought ourselves the time to leave. Episode 8 starts oh yeah, they're on our tail and they'll probably get here before we can leave. So now I'm just going to send everybody after them. Everybody being the 16 COVID actors that they could get on set at the time, of course. So it's just like, wait a minute. So why do we even have episode 7 if the thing that you claim to have had victory for, because he says to these witches from Dathomir, oh, I claim victory because I have delayed them. Now, next episode, you haven't delayed them. So you didn't get the victory. So you're useless. And you've just shown that you're absolutely stupid. And you didn't calculate it correctly at all. And now the person who says, I need to save as many resources as possible, including people, that's why I'm going to send little skeleton crews after them just to literally sacrifice themselves to give me a little bit of time. Now you're literally bombarding them with your own Star Destroyer, which of course doesn't hurt anyone. Why would it? You've already been bombarded from a fucking Star Destroyer right above you. Come on, bro. It was laughable. I mean, I did my video today. It's about half an hour. I could have spoken for an hour and a half and literally nitpicked every single bit because it just got so ridiculous. Ezra, this Force user, suddenly who said, I don't need anything. I don't need a weapon. I don't need a lightsaber. I don't need blasters. I just can use the Force. The Force is my ally. Had to pick up a stormtrooper's gun and wipe out a bunch of stormtroopers because they were going to kill him, showing that he was stupid. So then the next episode, he constructs a lightsaber to go into battle. And then when he's actually when he's got a dark trooper after him, a zombie dark trooper, by the way, who is impervious to blaster fire, he decides the best way to attack him is to try and kick him and punch him. And he's fighting on this the top of this spherical tower, where he could just force push you right off.
Yeah.
But he can't do that because intersectionality in Star Wars says the man can't have any agency and can't be shown to be doing anything heroic. This man must suddenly say, I'm not going to use the Force. I'm not going to use the Force. I'm not going to even try and get my lightsaber back in my hand or anything. I'm just going to try and kick this undead dark trooper in Beskar armor by the looks of it, because I need to wait for the person who doesn't have Force powers to teach themselves Force powers so they can save themselves to then save me because I'm a manzel. Just a complete and utter manzel in distress.
That doesn't make fucking sense.
And when they're running to the Star Destroyer, they've got a couple of wargs. We could have had 3 because in the last episode, we saw a person who arrived on a warg just run away. So they could have left their warg. So there could have been three wargs and have each of them, Ahsoka on one, Sabine on one, Ezra on one. But no, they decided the person that ran away actually took their mount and flee. And so Ezra rode bitch with Sabine because he's a man in Star Wars. And a man in Star Wars is effeminate and he is in no way threatening. To say I'll ride would be toxic masculinity.
Yeah, 100%.
So you just sit behind her, put your arms around her, don't touch her too much. Make sure your fingers are pointed out. They were pointed out because you can't, that no touching without consent, Eric. No touching without consent. And was just like, I'm a good little bitch. I'm a good little bitch. And then when they're getting bombarded by the Star Destroyer, and of course it misses every time, Ahsoka says to Ezra, she says, open that door ahead. I mean, why she fucking didn't? Fucking lazy cow. I don't know. So Ezra's like, ugh. And he's trying to force open this stone door in the distance that they're riding to. And then Ahsoka says to the person who she knows has no connection to the Force, has no Force powers, has not been able to use a single solitary Force power, can't even move a fucking cup in the spaceship that they're in, says, Sabine, help him. So she goes, but she doesn't know any Force. So she's just literally stood there with her hand open, doing nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know she can't use the Force. You know she has no connection to it. Why don't you do it? Like, you should have done it at the very start. Then Ahsoka goes, to get the door open a little bit so they get... I'm just like, fuck my ass, mouth and tits. I am watching just a comedy of errors. Just a comedy of bad writing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't get any better.
What was all Filoni's involvement on this? Like,
he wrote it. He wrote the fucking thing. Yeah,
okay, so he wrote the fucking thing. So, all right, again, I would see the pushback when people were already jumping off the ship, if you will, with Disney Star Wars before, and I'd love to get your perspective on that. Why people felt like, what was it that he had accomplished in the past? Favreau too, right? That had them believing that they were going to be the ones to for sure save this goddamn thing, right? This whole sinking ship that is Disney Star Wars. And I guess in seeing this, it doesn't look like he's going to be very successful in doing that. But where did the fuck did that come from, right? Like, because I mean, I would even get, I'm watching it from afar, right? I'm watching it from afar, and even people would chat on it, my streams, or my comment on my 1 or 2 video that I would do on a given topic, and they would say, well, I trust Favreau or I trust Filoni. They're going to turn this thing around. Why in the fuck were people under that impression?
With Filoni, let's go with Favreau first.
Yeah.
He's the kind of easiest one to go through. The Mandalorian season 1 got a lot of good faith with a lot of people.
Right.
I include myself as one of them. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Or a lot of people in our sphere, I should say, didn't like it. I loved Mando season 1. Because it was a complete change of pace. It tried to be like a space western, the man with no name type of thing. And I just really, really enjoyed season 1. So Favreau had built up a lot of goodwill, and it was goodwill that actually did kind of give Star Wars a little bit of impetus with all the shit that was going on. Filoni, who's been around for a lot longer, his Clone Wars stuff in the 2000s, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Clone Wars. It was quite clear that this is what the prequel trilogy should have been. It should have been a trilogy of how the Clone Wars progressed and got to where it is. And it really gave a lot more depth to Anakin, that you could sort of understand positions that he was in. It brought back Darth Maul in a bit of a stupid way, but it allowed Darth Maul to actually have a proper character, as opposed to being a funky looking dude with a lightsaber that, Ray Park could choreograph the shit out of, which was awesome. And so again, a lot of people look back at the Clone Wars and have a lot of fond memories of the Clone Wars. So Filoni was a writer with that. And a lot of people believe that, I mean, even the 7th season that they did, which came a long time after the 6th, because of Disney taking over and getting into place, and then finishing off this Clone Wars saga. Even though it started off well, had a really patchy middle, it ended very strongly indeed with Ahsoka. And so this character of Ahsoka, which when she was initially introduced back in the Clone Wars series, was actually not well liked at all. She was brash, cocky, annoying as fuck, and people just like, we don't like her. And credit where credit's due, Filoni did take that on board and change the character. He changed her from a very unlikable character initially to, by time we had the end of season 7 of the Clone Wars, I think most people who'd have watched the series would be like, Ahsoka's a great character.
Okay.
A great character. Then Rebels came along. Rebels had come along in the meantime, and that was not very good. The first 2 seasons were pretty weak. And then the last 2 seasons, season 3 and 4, were an improvement. But it did miss some of the beats. It did sort of fail at the final hurdle. Ahsoka should have died at the end fighting Vader. Instead, we had Ezra, this world between worlds shit, which got created, which is so annoying. But essentially, you can see either different dimensions or different periods in time. And Ezra could see Ahsoka fighting Vader and grabbed her, put his hand in and pulled her out to save her, which was stupid. But that's where we are with Star Wars, because Filoni wants his creation of Ahsoka to be the greatest ever. You know, she has a connection now to everyone, Anakin, to the current stuff that's going on, Mandalorian. You know, this is the smallest universe imaginable. Luke Skywalker. And it's funny, like, well, never mentioned in the original trilogy, never mentioned in the prequel trilogy. She would have been, you know, potentially been mentioned in Revenge of the Sith because her story had technically nearly concluded by then.
Mm-hmm.
And oh dear God, he's come into the live action and he's managed to take Ahsoka from a hated character to a beloved character.
I hate it again.
I think to the most part to a hated character.
That's fucking impressive.
Gone full circle.
That's fucking impressive. Yeah, I mean, look, because like I said, that's one thing that I noticed just sitting from afar and watching people. They banked a lot on those two individuals really turning this around, because I think it had become, I mean, I don't want to say a consensus, because there's for sure always going to be randos that insist that there is nothing wrong with anything going on with Star Wars and everything's perfect and fine and dandy. But those that at least understood that there was a problem, at least banked on those two fucking trying to save this, or they thought that they were for sure going to do it. And now that I think the writing's kind of even more so on the wall, because I'm looking at people that have, I mean, they were clinging on to this thing, man, and seeing them even be like, what in the fuck am I watching? To me, I don't know if Star Wars is at the point of no return, excuse me. It might be, but I don't know where the fuck you go from now, right? Because I mean, what other opportunity do they have to get back into good graces? Or rather, what team can they present that would get people stoked enough to even give a shit, right? To give them a chance to be like, okay, they're gonna turn this fucking ship around. Because what do we have coming out? Is there gonna be a season 2 or something? What the fuck comes out? What comes out after Ahsoka?
The next thing to come out is The Acolyte.
Oh yes, that's right. That's fucking right. Yeah.
Which is set about two or three, a few hundred years before Star Wars. And that's written by Leslie Headland, the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein, who fed him women for him to do his thing, which he's now in prison for until the day he dies. And she then wrote a play about an abusive boss. Sure, that was just purely coincidental. You know,
she had
but she pleaded to Queen Kathy, I think she called her on a red carpet event. Queen Kathy, and Queen Kathy called her up and said, let's make a series. Now, Eric, this series is set 200 or 300 years before A New Hope, before Star Wars. It's called Star Wars, but it got if you, because you're a creative person, you're a writer, Isom. I want you to, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but I want you, I'm going to give you a quick premise. 200 years before Star Wars.
Okay.
The Jedi are pretty much at the peak. I want you to pitch me a show about multiple Jedi. What are they doing? How are they getting involved? What's the angle? What's the enemy? What's the danger? Go.
I'm gonna make everybody gay. We're starting there first and foremost.
Leslie, is that you? Leslie, I'm trying to speak to Eric. I'm trying to speak to Eric. Can you?
We make everybody gay first and foremost. We start there. We make sure that as current day as we realistically can get. We want to make sure we add every bit of that neon colored hair. I'm talking all the likes. That's what it is that we for sure need to do. If I do have men that are going to be present, I need to make sure that they are going to be as incompetent as absolutely fucking possible. We don't want them showing up any women whatsoever. That would be a fucking, who the fuck would want to watch that? Are you serious? So we want to make sure that we get all of our bases covered, and then from there, I don't even have to fucking tell a story, to be completely honest, because the premise there is there, right? Like we got all the boxes checked.
It's
right?
written.
So the story kind of just writes itself. It doesn't even have to fucking make sense. I have characters. My peers are gonna, of course, pat me on the back as a creative, because I've signaled to fucking death, and bam, I'm gonna win all these awards, and easy. That's how we do Star Wars.
Do you know how incredibly close you are to what the actual press is on the show?
No, I did. I freestyled that. So
very close, very, very close indeed. Because Leslie Headland managed to say the word "as a queer person" 3 times in 2 sentences, and from the trailer, it is intersectional women in space with lightsabers. And also, what we do know from Leslie Headland is the show is, this might shock you because it's Disney Star Wars, female-centric. Because no other Star Wars show for Disney,
not lately, not at all. That's brand new. That's
remotely female-centric.
Fresh idea, man. That's fucking fresh, man.
Like Morning Dew. Like Morning Dew.
So I don't know what the fuck this company has. I mean,
there's a Rey movie coming after that.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So that'll get.
And then we have the Star Wars Mando Cinematic Universe film, which is going to put together the Mandalorian with the Rebels, with Ahsoka to fight Thrawn. That film's never getting made. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I don't know how they can. I guess merchandise. I always try to consider that when I look at how much money they have not made. This is Disney Plus, right? So they're not. That's not a profitable brand for them. We know that. We know they've lost not millions of dollars, billions of dollars. In streaming. So. Yeah, I don't know.
I get promises that it's going to be profitable by next year.
There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. There's no way. I mean, what are they going to get the rights back to? What was it, cricket or some shit that they may have had that was up their sleeve as far as Disney as a company when they lost all those initial subscribers? I don't know what the fuck they have up their sleeves in order to make this fucking. There's no fucking way. They might not even cut their losses in half in a year.
What they might try to do is not start writing off on the streaming service the money they pay themselves for the rights to their own movies, which they then show on Disney Plus, which is that money's been moved, but it's got to go somewhere. And at the minute, it's going on to the streaming platform.
There's no way that's going to be profitable. That's impossible. That's an impossible feat. They're selling all kinds of fucking bullshit, and I would hope nobody's dumb enough to believe that they're going to be profitable in a year. Because look, the enthusiasm in entertainment right now, I think what's missing with a lot of brands that people love, right, is that it's a general enthusiasm. You hear me say this all the time, right? And people can hate on fucking what it is that we do, but we have people that are actually stoked for the next product, whatever that may be. They're stoked for the next product that's coming out with the Riververse. Whereas to now, with a lot of these, it's not just a Star Wars thing, it's a Marvel thing, it's DC, you can throw them in there, and a bunch of other fucking properties that people have known and loved. And what's happened is that, being a customer or viewing that, it's more of a chore now, right? It's less of, okay, I'm like really fucking stoked on this. It's more of, I like this and I kind of got to go through it, right? And I mean, you can't even have a profitable entertainment brand if that aspect is missing. You can, even though I would not agree that these people are very creative, but you can think you're the fucking most creative person in the world, and I think they often think of themselves as that. I think people don't understand that. Look, man, the people that these guys are making this material for, I just had this conversation with Razor Fist yesterday. They're making this shit for their peers. They're not making this stuff for customer in mind. They're not making this stuff for people that have invested thousands, perhaps, of dollars in merchandise, movie tickets, comic books, or whatever. That's not who they're making this for. They're making this shit for people that are in similar positions, maybe above, below, whatever, a part of that industry that are working in it per se, and they're trying to signal to them and be in the good graces of each other. They're not, it's a fucking, as Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it type of situation. That's more of what this is. And the product comes out as such when you can have something so obvious that people just don't fucking want it, right? It's not like a secret here. I mean, they can sit up here and try to gaslight everybody and their mother. When you say, look, man, I don't think this is really what fucking people want, right? You're not crazy. You're not batshit. Look, people, these are people that have been customers for this shit forever. It doesn't mean that we're all going to agree that everything on every individual like line item. That's not what it is that I'm saying. But at minimum, when you have like your core fucking base of people that are the ones that reach in their pockets and throw money at whatever it is, the fucking screen, the comic book store, whatever, whoever it is, if they are thoroughly fucking and utterly rejecting this shit, right? I feel like you have to have enough sense to be like, okay, I at least have enough humility to pivot. Because they don't, it's more arrogance, it's more ego, it's more narcissism, whatever you want to call it, because it's not about you guys, it's about them, right? And impressing fucking each other. So that's why, to those that view this shit and like, man, how in the fuck could something so beloved as goddamn Star Wars go in the fucking tank? Like, that shit prints money. It even on the quote unquote bad product, it used to print fucking money. It was a gold mine. It didn't matter what, if the fans were divisive on it, they could at least agree that this is Star Wars or whatever it was, and people may not like it or like it a lot less more than others. That was what it was. It used to print money, and they can't fucking do that shit anymore. You can't just put Star Wars in front of something anymore, and people just fucking say, you know what, I'm all in on it. That's it, and that's because you got a bunch of people in high positions that have no idea who the fuck the characters are. They don't know what this world is. They have no idea who this, what this universe is about. They've looked at it like, this is a brand that is recognizable. I'm gonna infiltrate that shit, make it about me, make it about my posse, whether it be whatever fucking. You call it a religion, it might as well be, in the sense of their identity and all that other shit that nobody gives a fuck about. They've then hijacked it, made it about all of that shit, and now this is more so, it became less of a platform to get this good shit out to you guys. It became more of, hey, this is my vehicle, right, to beat you over the head with shit that I care about, not you as a reader, not you as a customer, not you as a fucking a person that watches these general movies, watches these TV shows, or anything like that. And it's such a crying damn shame because it seems so fucking obvious, right? And I think that's why all of our channels kind of started to have that uptick, right? Because we were some of the guys that were like, this is not good. This doesn't make sense. This is a fundamental problem. But I think for a while there, and we'll talk about that. We'll go to Super Chats in a minute, but we'll talk about that here, about that in the comic book industry, where it's like people know, right? People know there's a problem, but they're being gaslit because of access media and all that shit for a while, where they're telling them, no, man, this is the greatest thing fucking in the world. There's no problem here. And I'm pretty sure people are looking at that sandwich right there and they can see that it's a turd right on top of it, right? They can see that 100%. That ain't fucking ground beef, bro. That's a goddamn turd right there. But they have been gaslit, and we were just the guys saying, no, you're not being well, you are being gaslit, you know, but you can believe your own eyes.
Pretend that nugget's an M&M, but it's not. It's a nugget of shit. Yeah, but if I put here, I just put some chocolate on it and wrote an M. Yeah, but if I bite into it, it's still shit. Here, there's some green. There's some spinach around it. Nice bit of green, right? But if I put the spinach on the plate and put the thing on and eat it, it's still the shit.
It's still shit. Up next for the Rippaverse this fall is Alpha Core #1, written by one of the most prolific writers of all time, Chuck Dixon. Penciled by the legendary Joe Bennett. You're not going to want to miss this book. Visit Rippaverse.com to stay up to date and grab ISOM #1 to get caught up on the first appearance of Alpha Core.